in the sun-baked hush of the New Mexico village of Coldwater Springs. In an area known as Juan Bay, a man cooks. Nothing fancy, pots bubbling over on the stove and hesitant clicking sound of metal on a wooden board. Let's call him Andy. He realizes he cannot do this alone. He goes to the library to find a cookbook, and instead finds happiness in a life partner. Mookie, the feisty village librarian, suggests that maybe a child's first cookbook is the very book he needs. Mookie has spent her days marshaling books into regiments of rationality. Now Andy and Mookie have found each other. At home, any semblance of order disappears in the presence of Puck, their wise and practical yet exuberantly mischievous parapet. Together the three happily embrace the cycles of chaos and order, chaos and order, chaos and order. Andy, Mookie, and Puck were living in peace and tranquility, listening to the birds chirping in Juan Bay. Then came the day when, inexplicably, Andy was declared to be one of 100 up-and-coming new comic book stars. By month's end, he, Mookie, and Puck found themselves in Hollywood. Andy starring in his own TV series as a hopeless chef destined to grow marginally more competent over time. Fame extracted its penalties. More about this later. In reality, Andy's skills proved less a matter of competence than inspiration. His cooking was erratic, creative, frequently inedible. He was more a culinary artist than a chef, reimagining food in bizarre forms that some people found enthralling. Such was Andy's improbable likability. Now, their Hollywood foray complete, Andy, Mookie, and Puck have returned to the windy, dusty familiarity of Coldwater Springs. But their journey is far from over. The first thing they see on their return is a giant billboard with a terrifying picture of some ghoulish creature. It says, "Stop Mayor Meanie's bullying. Sign a petition to keep Juan Bay rural. Protect our heritage and our water." Never Meanie. Obvious leadership problem.
That's not the welcome home sign I was hoping for. Orale wise Willie. What's going on around here?
Orale, Andy. Long time no see. How was the land of broken dreams? You know you can sign up for the green chili cook-off as well, after you sign the petition. But your secret ingredient of truffles and sarsaparilla didn't sway the quasi-judges last time. Think that one over.
Digression on. Here the creative team thought about turning the whole comic book into a metaphor. The Green Chili Cook-Off would be the stand-in for the actual court case where the city sued the county to force Juan Bay into annexation no matter what the residents and voters wanted. It would go kind of like this. Chili Cook-Off quasi-judges were given People's Choice recommendations, but they decide it's really a quasi-chili cook-off, so they ignore People's Choice recommendations. The quasi-judges picked the quasi-mayor's quasi-possum quasi-green chili because of its intense quasi-chili flavors and because they were quasi-threatened. Legal action is brought against the quasi-mayor by the people for his quasi-threat, but quasi-judge sets aside the quasi-facts. Quasi-people are punished by having all of their quasi-land annexed by the quasi-city, and the real historic pueblos are in danger of being bulldozed in favor of quasi-affordable housing. So when the quasi-judges ignore the people's choice and reward the dish with the most quasi-clout, who ends up eating crow? And whose history and culture gets devoured? But that quasi-story was just a little too quasi-queasy, quasi-quazy. Cuff, him, quasi-crazy for the quasi-creative team. So instead we return to Wise Willie and Chef Andy, who are still deep in conversation in the heart of Coldwater Springs.
Well, Andy, it's been tough. Meanie, Ian, and the Flying Monkeys tried to force Juan Bay into city annexation. They said we were elitist, racist, rich butts, when the truth was that we just wanted to live in peace in the county, and farm, and raise chickens. Taxes, I guess that was part of it. If you can dream it, Meanie can figure out a way to tax it. Then Fibber, the newspaper guy, chimed in and wrote a bunch of slanted articles. Ian tried to rile up folks to think we were anti-affordable housing, and he got a lot of out-of-towners to come protest. If you didn't know better, you'd think there was a Quasi-Cabal or something. Well, you think it over and make up your own mind.
Hey, Andy! Mookie, you there? Dolla here? Your travel agent? From Celluloid Land? Yeah! I gotta hit you with a fastball? Remember your biz manager, that clusterfuck? Yeah, well, your guy don't work here no more. So, guess who took on the talent end of things now? Look, there's a local gig for you there in, Andy's kinda like a chef, right? Okay, picture this. Local big shot, loaded like a chrome-plated Scrooge MacD. Throws a party. Wants it classy, wants it fancy, wants it now. Can Andy whip up a menu that screams Tasmanian Luau for Southwestern high society? You in?
And just like that, Chef Andy was hired. Now, 3 days later, Andy finds himself in the finest residential commercial kitchen at a Tasmanian luau for the city's elite.
Orale, Andy, bienvenue. Comment allez-vous? Well, the host seems to think moi can fix anything. HIS disposal is on the fritz, so of course he calls the Wiz. Moi? What? Who told you that? No, you cannot just hit the red button to reset. Amateur mistake. No, you need to use high-fidelity audio equipment to locate the blockage. ELL just be here in room 16, fixing things. He don't want to disturb anyone. Can you close the cabinet doors? Fermez la porte, por favor.
Dude, I'm the host. You must be the celebrity rent-a-chef. Call me the good time party judge. I studied beach observation and waterfall immersion at the Larker Institute for Hydrospheric Sciences and Quasi-Law at Van Diemen's College of Semi-Jurisprudence. So I'm very well qualified to judge in New Mexico. I brought you this jar of giant Tasmanian olives for the Tasmanian Devil martinis. You'll use them responsibly? And you'll be making my hush-hush martini recipe that you won't disclose because they had you sign a top-secret non-disclosure agreement.
Cheese and crackers. That sounds too much like my own secret recipe. The only change is that I insist on plutonium hot sauce, government permit needed. Only for use by professional comic book chefs. Can I trust this recipe-rustling magistrate?
Those naughty hush-hush recipe Tasmanian Devil martinis are good. So good. I'll just pour a few in my coffee cup, and some in City Man's mug, in case the newspaper guy, Fibbar, tries to take photos for the Sunday Society pages. So good. So good they made my moustache disappear. So, dude, me and my buddies need the kitchen for a while. No problem, right? We always meet here during parties where we can be unobserved and undisturbed. You signed the non-disclosure agreement, right, dude? I can't remember.
Where's the creative team? The editorial board? They need to get me out of here before dreadful Chef Andy materializes. Mookie? Puck? WizTom? Barrington? Narrator guy? Mr. Gall?
Oh no, Chef Andy is in quite a pickle. Tune in next time to eavesdrop on the Quasi-Cabal. Will Chef Andy escape this awful jam? And did he sign the non-disclosure agreement? You won't know unless you tune in next time. Until then, I'm kind of your narrator, S.H. Gall, for Chef Andy Comics.